You find yourself in a room with 7 other people. On the wall are 2 large cards, one with a single black line and one with 3 lines of varying lengths. A simple task: say out loud which of the 3 lines matches the single line. You've done this kind of comparison since you were a child. Easy, until the others start giving the same wrong answer. One by one, each person confidently points to a line you know doesn't match. By the time it's your turn, your heart is pounding. You double-check your eyes, but the truth seems to waver. They can't all be wrong, can they? With a nervous laugh, you hesitate and then mutter an answer you know is incorrect, just to go along. In that moment, you've lived the experience of Solomon Asch's famous conformity experiment. In the 1950s, Asch invited real participants, like you, into groups of actors who were instructed to unanimously give wrong answers. The result was chilling. Most people denied the evidence of their own senses at least once to avoid standing out. It wasn't about eyesight. It was about the quiet terror of being the odd one out. When everyone else in the room confidently states an obvious falsehood, the truth suddenly feels like a lonely, dangerous thing. Why did you second-guess something your eyes clearly saw? Because belonging feels safer than being right. From our earliest days, we humans are tribal creatures. We crave connection and approval. Our survival once depended on it. The thought of being cast out alone triggers an ancient anxiety deep in your brain. So you smile and nod, even when a voice inside whispers that something's off. It feels easier to be wrong with the crowd than right by yourself. After all, if you're wrong together, at least you're not alone. Right? Yet as you walk away from that experiment, or any real-life situation like it, a gnawing feeling lingers in your gut. You betrayed your own truth. You agreed with a lie, and worse, you knew it. That little scene in the lab is a lot like scenes in our lives every day. How often have you laughed at a joke you actually found hurtful or unfunny because everyone else was laughing? How many times have you held your tongue when friends or coworkers agreed on something you quietly disagreed with? In meetings, in classrooms, in group chats, and dinner tables, you've tasted that bitterness. The moment you say, yes, absolutely, while your heart says, no, not really. Kierkegaard's warning that the crowd is untruth suddenly isn't just about literal crowds. It's about those moments you surrender your voice to blend in. Over a century before social psychologists proved it in labs, Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish father of existentialism, saw how easily an individual's truth could vanish in a crowd's shadow. He wrote passionately about the individual's duty to stand apart, to seek truth on their own terms. To Kierkegaard, truth isn't a matter of head count. It's something deeply personal that only the individual can encounter by being authentic and responsible for their own choices. Think about the phrase, "the crowd is untruth." It's a bold accusation. Kierkegaard doesn't mean that every group of people is inherently malicious or wrong. His point is that the instant you stop being a person and become just part of a crowd, something in you, your personal responsibility, dissolves. In a crowd, it's easy to say, I was just following along. No single person feels accountable for the group's actions or beliefs. It becomes ambiguously we, and we can always blame someone else among us. In that diffusion of responsibility, truth gets watered down. The clear edges of your principles and perceptions blur into group consensus. You adopt the group opinion, not because you truly believe it, but because it's comfortable. The crowd offers shelter. You're no longer solely responsible for what we do or think, but that shelter comes at a price. Your authenticity. Consider how this plays out today. Online, the crowd is everywhere. An endless digital swarm telling you what to think, feel, and approve of. You scroll through a social feed and post after post echoes the same sentiment. Thousands of retweets and likes insist it's correct, so you go along with it, or at least stay silent if you disagree. It's just Twitter, just Instagram, just Reddit. But deep down, each concession chips away at your ability to trust your own judgment. Maybe you even join in on shaming someone because it's the trending collective outrage, though a small voice in you feels uneasy about it. Or you follow a viral trend that doesn't really interest you, just because everyone else seems to love it. In the online crowd, dissent feels almost criminal, as if a million eyeballs will turn on you if you dare step out of line. And it's not just online. Think of your workplace or school. The boss proposes a plan that quietly strikes you as flawed, but everyone around the table nods in agreement. You glance around, heart pounding, wondering if you're the only one seeing the problem. You have two choices: speak up and be that person, or say nothing and let the meeting proceed in comfortable unison. 9 times out of 10, silence wins. After all, no one got fired for agreeing with the boss, right? The meeting ends and you sigh, telling yourself it wasn't a big deal. But that pang in your chest says otherwise. You abandoned your insight at the door of the crowd. Peer pressure among friends can be even harder. These are people you choose to be with, whose respect means the world to you. So when the whole gang is excitedly planning something that you feel is a bad idea, maybe something risky or cruel, or just not you, it takes superhuman strength to raise a hand and say, "Actually, guys, I'm not on board." It's so much simpler to force a smile and say, "Sure, sounds great," while a knot forms in your stomach. You tell yourself you're just being social, that compromise is part of friendship. But if you're always compromising your values or comfort to keep the peace, is that true friendship or just mutual conformity? In those moments, you're trading your inner truth for the warmth of the group. It's like standing by a bonfire. The heat of belonging is lovely, but step too close and it burns away your identity. Let's step back and imagine this scenario from a distance, with a bit of surreal, dreamlike perspective. Picture a dark stage in a vast theater. On that stage stands you, illuminated by a single spotlight. In your hands, you hold a small lantern. Your truth? It's light, flickering but real. Now from the shadows, hundreds of figures approach, merging into a crowd that surrounds you. They carry a much larger, blazing torch. Collective opinion, auraing with confidence. Their light is blinding, and for a moment, it overshadows your little lantern, casting your world in their harsh glow. They chant in unison, a comfortable hymn of agreement that drowns out your solitary voice. You feel your hands shake. The tiny lantern quivers. You have a choice: shield your flame, or let it be snuffed out and replaced by the big torch's glare. In this surreal scene, if you decide not to protect your lantern, you might lift it up and let the crowd's fire consume it. Suddenly, your face looks just like everyone else's in that glow, indistinguishable. The crowd's chant becomes your voice. For a moment, it feels relieving. No more struggle, no more fear of being wrong alone. You're one of them, safe in the fold. But as the crowd marches on, you glance down and realize your lantern, your personal truth, is gone, extinguished. And with it, a piece of you has vanished. Now imagine instead you hold that lantern close, shielding it with your hand, even as the heat of the crowd's torch bears down. You stand firm, trembling but resolute, and say, "No, I see things differently." The crowd hesitates. The unified chant falters with murmurs. Maybe someone in that mob of shadows steps forward and snaps out of the trance, saying, "You know, I kind of felt that way too." Your courage kindles a spark in another lonely soul, and suddenly, there are two lanterns in the dark. The crowd's torch isn't as blinding as before. A few others drift away from it, retrieving their own long-hidden lanterns. The great fire of untruth shrinks, fueled by fewer bodies. Even those who remain in the crowd, holding the torch, now see unmistakable points of light outside their mass, proof that another way to be exists. This dreamlike parable is exactly what Kierkegaard implores: to dare to be the individual, to choose truth and authenticity over the warmth of conformity. It's not that the crowd is always factually wrong about everything, it's that abandoning yourself to the crowd is always wrong for you. If something is true, really true, you won't find it by polling the audience. You find it through honest self-examination, personal experience, and sometimes painful solitude. Yes, solitude. That scary word. Choosing your own path can feel like walking into a wilderness alone. The crowd, by contrast, is like a bustling city, full of lights, noise, and company. When you step away from it, it's quiet. You might fear that quiet. Who are you outside of the familiar chorus? It's in that silence that Kierkegaard says you can finally hear the truth, your truth, and perhaps a deeper truth about what's right. When you're not drowning in the collective roar, your own voice comes through. It may be a small voice at first, timid from being shushed for so long, but the more you listen, the stronger and clearer it gets. And here's the beautiful twist. When you embrace your inner authenticity, you might be alone at first, but you won't remain lonely forever. Truth has a way of attracting kindred spirits. By speaking up, you find each other. Think of pioneers in any field, science, art, social change, who went against the crowd. They often stood alone initially, branded as fools or heretics. But their courage lit the way for others to recognize, I feel that too, or I see what they see. Galileo stood virtually alone in saying the Earth moves around the sun, an idea that contradicted the entire crowd of his era. He suffered for it, yet he was right. And eventually, reality won out. If he hadn't spoken, how long would that crowd have clung to untruth? Every leap forward starts with one truth holder defying the mass of untruth. Now, your daily life might not be about revolutionizing astronomy or leading a civil rights movement, but the principle is the same on a personal scale. Every time you choose honesty over compliance, you're performing a small act of revolution. You're keeping that flame of authenticity alive. It might be as simple as saying, actually, I don't find that joke funny, or I have a different opinion on this topic. It might be choosing not to hit the share button on a piece of misinformation, even if everyone else on your feed is sharing it. These sound like trivial acts, but in the landscape of the soul, they are monumental. Each one is you, claiming ownership of your mind and conscience. Each one is you, choosing truth over the easy lie. Of course, resisting the crowd has a cost. There will be moments of isolation, awkward silences, maybe even ridicule. That's the price of admission to a life where you actually believe in the person you see in the mirror. Ask yourself, what's the cost of the alternative? If you never dissent, never stand apart, what do you lose? Perhaps everything that makes you you. You become a stranger to yourself, a patchwork of popular opinions, a mirror to others' expectations. You might be liked by everyone, yet truly known by no one, not even you. Kierkegaard believed that becoming an authentic individual was a kind of sacred duty, one that gives life meaning. It requires courage and faith in oneself. It means accepting responsibility for your own beliefs and actions, rather than hiding in the crowd where it's easy to say, "It wasn't my fault," or "I was just one of many." It might feel like the weight of the world on your single set of shoulders, but it's also liberating. When you stop worrying about fitting in with the crowd's ever-changing moods, you discover the solid ground of your own values. And here's a secret: many of the people in the crowd are just as scared and doubtful as you. They are nodding along, looking confident, but inside, they might also wonder if they're doing the right thing. It often takes just one brave voice to break the spell. Remember that scene in the old fairy tale, The Emperor's New Clothes? An entire town went along with an obvious lie. The emperor wasn't wearing anything. Until one child finally spoke up, shattering the collective delusion with a single truthful observation. Suddenly, everyone could admit they saw the truth too. Crowds are powerful, but fragile things. They depend on everyone playing along. The moment someone stops, the untruth is exposed. In our modern, hyper-connected world, it's easy to feel like we are in one giant crowd 24/7. The hive mind is always buzzing. It takes conscious effort to step back and say, "Hold on. What do I really think? What do I see and feel?" It might involve unplugging for a while, sitting with your own thoughts without the noise. It might involve journaling your real opinions before checking what others are saying. It certainly involves self-honesty, being frank with yourself about whether you actually agree or if you're just avoiding conflict. It's a kind of mindfulness, catching yourself in the act of conforming and gently bringing your attention back to your true self, like meditation for the conscience. As this narrative journey comes to a close, imagine returning to that room of the ash experiment, but this time with a new resolve. The card with the lines is before you. The group begins to give the wrong answer again, one by one. You feel the familiar squeeze of doubt and the heat of eyes on you. But now, you take a breath and remember who you are. When your turn comes, you speak clearly. Line A. It's the answer you know is true, the one everyone else denied. The room goes silent for a second. Your heart is hammering, but it's a proud, defiant drum in your chest. In that silence, you discover it wasn't fatal. The walls don't cave in. In fact, one of the actors next to you, who knows the real answer, can finally drop the act and smile. By choosing truth over conformity, you've not only kept your self-respect, you've made it easier for others to do the same. Courage is contagious. The crowd may be untruth, but you don't have to be. Every day, you can choose to step out of the shadow of the mob and into the light of your own understanding. It won't always be easy. Sometimes that light will flicker in a howling wind of popular opinion, but you can shelter it with your cupped hands, protecting that flame. Over time, that flame grows into a fire of conviction that keeps you warm through the cold nights of doubt. And you realize, standing there by your own light, that being true to yourself was the only real comfort all along. So dare to stand apart when it matters. Dare to trust your eyes and ears, your mind and heart, even when the crowd jeers and roars the opposite. In the words of Kierkegaard, and echoed by every freethinker since, the crowd is untruth. Let the crowd keep its illusions. You, bravely, quietly, unapologetically, keep your truth.